A reading from Matthew chapter 20, verse 20. Then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to Jesus with her sons, and, kneeling down, asked a favour of him. "What is it you want?" he asked. She said, "Grant that one of these two sons of mine may sit at your right and the other at your left in your kingdom." "You don't know what you are asking," Jesus said to them. "Can you drink the cup I am going to drink?" "We can," they answered. Jesus said to them, "You will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or my left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared by my Father." When the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the two brothers. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many."
One of the phrases that we hear in today's world is the phrase pushy parents. And whenever we meet pushy parents, and perhaps you've met one or two, it's never very attractive. But it's not something which is a modern phenomenon. It's something which was always part of human life. Yesterday was St. James's Day, and if we'd celebrated that, we would have read this passage from Matthew 20 that's been read just a moment ago. And there we see a pushy parent. It's the mother of James and John, the sons of thunder, the sons of Zebedee. And she comes to Jesus and she kneels at his feet and she says, "Will you grant me a favour?" Jesus says to her, "What is it that you want?" And she says, "Grant this, that when you come into your glory, that my sons may sit on your right hand and on your left hand in your kingdom." And so Jesus turns to John and to James and says to them, "Are you able to drink the cup that I will drink?" Speaking about the cup of suffering. And he says, "You will indeed drink the same cup of suffering that I will drink. But to grant you to sit on my right hand or my left hand, that's not mine to grant. My Father has already prepared that place for others." And the gospel story goes on and says that the disciples, when they heard about what had happened, were indignant. I think the word actually means furious. They were absolutely mad at James and John and their pushy mother. And so Jesus does something very wonderful. He calls them together and he says to them, "Now, the lords of the Gentiles, they lord it over others. Those who have high places and high officials like to flaunt their authority." And I think he wagged his finger at them and said, "Not so with you." He said, "The one who wants to be first must be last. The one who wants to be great must be the servant of all." And then Jesus went on and these wonderful words said this: "The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Immediately after this is the triumphal entry as Jesus rides into Jerusalem, not on a war charger, not with power, but coming with humility, riding on the back of a donkey. And then at the Last Supper, he girds himself in a towel and he kneels and washes his disciples' feet and says to them, "Even as I have done for you, I who are your teacher and Lord, so you must do this for one another." Jesus giving his disciples the example of suffering and of service. And then he demonstrates that as he takes that final step and final journey to the cross. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And so this Sunday, as we meet and as we greet, as we think about all that God is calling us to be as followers of Christ, we hear again Jesus' word to us, to put others first, to care for the needs of others, and as we seek to follow Jesus, to make sure that we do so in humility and in love and in service. May we know God's blessing, God's joy, as we seek to serve him in our everyday lives. Amen.